But yeah, and we always observe as well. So it's always weird to see like we're always in the classroom, we're always there. I'm gonna sit so that I can see here. No, you're fine right there. Just sit by the door. So I was in your class today, and while I was inside of your class today, you were preparing for your unit test on percent, so it was more like a preparation type of lesson.
Okay.
It was the pre-test for the percents, and you were walking them through it. And your focus was on having them explain their steps. I could tell that was pretty much your focus, even though the lesson was just prepare for the test. Your focus wasn't on just them doing it; it was on them explaining, and I saw that through them walking you through step by step each question. Tell me for a second, what did you see during the lesson? And I could talk about some things that I saw, and I can hit you with some pluses and deltas.
Was this one? Yes.
This was Monday.
Monday. Okay, Monday. Some things I think they do well. Like you said, when we talk it out, why is my coefficient stuck to the variable? I need to get away from the variable. I think we call it breaking it down. When we break it down, they do really well with that. I think I have a lot of audio and visual learners in my room. Some things that I am struggling with in the class, making sure everyone is doing the work.
Yeah.
I walk around and I don't see everyone does not have the same notes that I do on the board.
Right.
And that's something I actually need
Do
help
you find
with.
that it's getting better than where it was when you first started with them?
Definitely.
Okay, so well, the reason why I brought that up is because when you first got there, they really weren't doing it at all. And do you remember what we put in place? What did we tell you?
Walk around the room.
Walk around the room. So what you got to do too is, so you're telling them that I'm going to walk around the room and check this, but you might even want to do that when you're writing. You see what I'm saying? So when you're writing, like make sure board equals paper because I'm coming around to check pretty soon.
Okay.
And so that way, when you walk around, you're not reminding them to do it. You're just checking to see if it's there. So I think that's the next level as opposed to just checking. So now they know you're going to check. They also know you're going to give them a chance when you check. So now what you should be doing is letting them know that when you're writing it, this better be down because I'm coming around in just a minute to make sure. And then for your high learners, I'm coming around to see if you can expound on what I wrote down on the board.
Okay, yeah. And it's just that 10%, and not even 10%, like 2 or 3 kids that just, I'm struggling just getting them to be motivated.
Yeah.
Like you came in today, Mr. Kennedy.
What do you think? What do you think would be the best course of action for him?
Sometimes I say 15% of the times he cares, and when he does put his effort in, he's smart.
What do you think is going on in the classroom or with him when he does put his best effort forward?
He's engaged in the lesson and some peer pressure.
And what ways can you get more peer pressure in there or more positive peer pressure?
I do like positive peer pressure. Like we all need to have this down, tally on the board. And they'll be like, come on, Dominic, we all need this down. You can do it.
What about too? You talked about positive peer pressure, but you also talked about him being engaged. What do you think engages him the most?
That honestly, I'm still trying to figure out because sometimes I'm like, all the rest of the class and like him and like Mr. Sims, like all the rest of the class is so they're excited, they're smiling. When I see them smiling, I know they're excited to be learning. And then we're still just not. I don't know if like home life comes into school life, but I talk to them like you got to drop it at the door. We're in Tinley now, we're here for the day, we're safe for the day, we have to drop the baggage. I have problems at home too, but we drop it at the door. When you walk into the classroom, we're here to do one thing, we're here to learn.
How have you been doing with the parent conferences when the students aren't meeting your expectations? Remember we talked about
I've been calling. I have met with his dad once and grandpa once. I think I'm going to set up another meeting.
I would set them up, and this is why I would set them up. And I would bring it to Miss Westerhouse that you would like to set one up and maybe have one of us there, or definitely have one of us there, because this is what you don't want. You don't want him to feel comfortable, and you don't want the parents to feel comfortable, right? And if you just call, or you never call, or you just let him continue to do what he's doing. Everybody's real comfortable doing what they're doing. But
Yeah.
if dad has to keep missing out on work, if dad has to keep missing out on paychecks because he needs to come check out his son,
Yeah.
some stuff is going to have to change.
And he
Right.
seems to call because it's like every other day he's calling for caps and
Mhm.
like no one
Yeah.
is just like okay. And I listen on the phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And I think with the caps, since we've been tracking the caps a new way, I think we found some patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
So-
to say repeated offenders.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to start calling. I just had Mr. Lennon call those guys in for parent conferences, suspension pending parent conferences just now. So here's what I saw. I saw you using some academic vocabulary and similar, you do similar shapes and similar sizes. I saw you letting Mr. Boyd walk through his steps through cross multiplication. Remembering and understanding, I saw you using clue words to help them remember and understand. Applying and analyzing, I saw you having them use cubes to kind of analyze what the word problem was asking them to do. I did see, though, that a lot of it was still majority teacher. Although students were participating, I still think it was about 70-30.
Yeah.
I want you to have, like, when Mr. Boyd was explaining, I want to see more people explaining.
Okay.
Right? So, like, where's Landon Jones on this? Where is, and where's Greer? Where's Greer on this? You know what I mean? Because it's one thing if Michael Boyd understands, but we all knew Michael understood anyway, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if Landon understands. And if Michael understands and Landon doesn't, then we're not successful.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So one of the things I want you to do is, and this is a key lever I want you to have, I want you to focus on targeted questioning. And we spoke about this in your team meeting, what was it, last week?
Yep.
And so with this targeted questioning, I want you to focus on one high, which is Mr. Boyd, 2 middles, and 2 lows. Okay, so you're going to focus on 1 high, 2 middles, and 2 lows. And what you're going to do is you're going to ask them to explain. If you're asking them to break down the steps like Mr. Boyd did, you're going to have Mr. Boyd maybe start or maybe end. But those 2 lows and those 2 middles need to get in there. And the 2 middles and 2 lows need to change every time. So you're cycling through who your 2 middles and 2 lows are, and you're cycling through who your 2 high and who your 1 high is. Because you're trying to get a decent stratification of what's really going on in your classroom. But if you always call on Boyd, then it makes it seem like everybody's doing well.
Exactly.
And you get the quiz scores that you're getting. You see what I'm saying? So what I want you to do right now is walk through name 3 highs in your class. And
Michael Boyd.
let's get them down.
Yep.
Write them down.
Michael B. Dustin Gilbert, Frank Haskins.
And give me 4 middles.
Dalen Greer. Lee Pavey. Dalen Greer, Miles Brown. And Everett Williams.
And give me 5 lows.
5 lows. Landon J. Dominic Sims. Dominic Kennedy. Who else? Trying to think. I think I have a lot of mids. Who else is low in my room?
Jarius Dennis.
Kareem Bryant, and I would say
Okay.
New,
yeah,
to your room.
and you know what, Tyrone, the new 7th grader, I've been looking over his work. I think he's low.
And so, of this list, I'm not asking you to judge them. Saying if one of these guys was your son, and you're going to be proud on academic achievement, who you going to be proudest of? We're not proud of growth. Not saying we are in this school, but just say for devil's advocate, we're just proud of academic achievement. Who are you most proud of in that group? Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we're teaching to them, right? We're challenging Michael Boyd, but the attention, because we need the other guys to get up there, needs to be on them. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So you're kind of like appeasing Michael Boyd, like, I'll let you answer a couple questions, but really you're trying to understand what
drilling
Landon
these
is thinking.
guys.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you're drilling them to death.
So
What is this? Explain this. Why? How? When would you do this? Why would you do this instead of this? What is the difference between this technique and that technique? Why are these techniques similar? when would you use which one? You know what I mean? You're drilling them hard.
And that way, I think that helps because then they're going to feel uncomfortable.
And you want them to, because that's when they're learning.
Exactly. So they're gonna be more on point.
Exactly. What I want you to do now is your next problem solving unit is equations, right?
Yes.
And
expression. Yeah.
equations and expressions.
Yes.
And
Jordan and Jay.
so one of the things I want you to do now is I want you to Jalen Garrett has I want you to look at
The other Garrett was not in the NPR.
look at that, right? Just think about that in your mind. We just built the test. We just looked at those units. What types of questions could you formulate that are rigorous enough to hit Michael B, but still in the same vein where you can hound these guys to bring them up to these guys' level? You see what I'm saying? What questions could you ask about an equation? What questions can you ask about a word problem and equation that challenge these guys, but at the same time hound these guys? See what I'm saying? Think about that for about, let's say, 45 seconds, and then let's write some of those questions down.
All right.
And when we get those down, the point I'm trying to get to is that's what we're going to start asking in our class.
Yeah.
And those are who we're going to start asking them too. Exactly.
Okay.
And you're going to cycle through these guys.
1, 2, 2, right? 1, 2, 2.
All right. So you got an equation problem. What's a problem that you can add? What's a question that you can ask to make sure that they understand it deeply?
One thing we're working on that they struggle with is, because you're getting the coefficient away from the variable, getting the variable by itself. I'm doing that using the inverse operation. What does an inverse operation mean?
Correct.
What's the operation we're doing? The inverse. What does inverse mean?
Okay, let's put it in there. I would also add in there, give me another example where inverse means something different, right? Because inverse is not strictly a mathematical word.
No.
You see what I'm saying? Neither is opposite. Neither is, I can't think of another word to use, but those are not just mathematical words. And when we get stuck in this is math, this is math, this is math, and don't put it into the context of the world, and I don't mean real world problems, I mean this is language too. You know what I mean? Then kids struggle.
So what does the word inverse mean? Give me an example of something in the real world.
And with this, you need to have a clear definition of these things too.
Yeah, I need to write it down. I know inverse means opposite, but I need something clearer than that. And this actually was going to come to you today. I feel like, I forget what I used as a definition, but I don't like what we use as a definition of an equation versus expression. And I really like every single boy in my class knows the meaning of a percent. Like, I know this because they know I just drilled it to them. So I thought maybe we could go through and come up with a good term for that.
Let's do it now.
Yeah.
What do you guys have now?
We have equations versus expressions. I have it on my ladder. An equation is that has the equal sign and it equals the other side. I forget, the equals the other side of the equal sign.
So it's not just that. So
yeah.
You can also add that, like, an equation is two expressions that are set equal to each other.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So an expression is a number. It's different representations of a number. So like 6 minus 12 is an expression.
And it's not an equal sign.
There's no equal sign, right? But 6, the number 6 itself, is also an expression. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, and 12.
6 minus 12 is the same expression as -6. They're the same expression. They're just represented in different ways. You see what I'm saying?
Equals
So
negative.
But
Yeah.
don't put the equal sign. So